Straight to the top, never going down, don't wait for the drop. Never stand still, that's the motto, yeah. Brand new bands for the auto, oh. Foot to the ground, full throttle. Big energy for the night like lotto. Y'all talk lots, never this quiet. Life like a Seinfeld plot. Vault full of songs, all of them bombs. Something like a minefield guy, boom. Get it, tickets running out quick. Bet it, never get it out big. Said it, never had to shout it. They said I couldn't ever do it, okay, how's it? Fit a week worth of work in a minute. Machine well oiled, you know how I stay efficient. To do list written, I do this different. Hold up, wait a minute, I ain't finished. Okay. Look, flows the same now. Paved the way to snakes and fakes are chased out. Back to back to back, I changed the pace now. Had to stack the cash until the bank's out. Straight to the top, never going down, don't wait for the drop.
Hi, everybody. This is Randy Martinez from IT Pros Management. Welcome to our webinar today on Microsoft Copilot. I'm pleasure and an honor to introduce David Swenson from our Microsoft 365 team and NetLogic Computers. David is going to be taking us down a journey today of explaining Microsoft Copilot, really what it is, how it can work for your business, giving some examples on how to use it. And really, we want to, at the end of this conversation, really have you get excited about AI and using Microsoft Copilot as that AI tool that you might want to use for your business in a secure fashion. So David's going to cover some of the security issues as well around Copilot and general AI. So with that said, I'm going to hand it over to David Swenson. And David, it's all yours, buddy. Thank you.
Thanks, Randy. Great to be with you. Great to be talking about Copilot today. So first, we're going to start off by emphasizing the unique aspects of Copilot Chat compared to other AI tools. This includes its ability to answer questions, generate content, and ensure the appropriate amount of data protection, all tailored specifically for workplace efficiency. And that's really one of the major key points of Copilot, is really the only generative AI that businesses should be considering inside and outside their organization, because all the stuff inside Microsoft 365, Microsoft Purview, data loss prevention, permissions, and management have all been accounted for with Copilot. And as we're going through this presentation, all viewers should remember that your Copilot inherently only has access to and only knows what you know inside the organization. So it's a real win for organizations where you don't have to worry about a new permission structure, new controls, all of those different things. Once we talk about that, we'll also dive into understanding its functionalities. So by gaining deeper insight into how Copilot Chat works, you'll be empowered to leverage it efficiently in your daily tasks. Keep in mind, this tool is not just about automation, it's about enhancing your productivity and creativity. And throughout the presentation, we're going to be exploring some various features such as file uploads, data visualization, really showcasing the versatility of Copilot Chat. And our goal is to encourage each of you to envision the potential benefits of integrating a tool like this into your own workflows and really see how it can transform the way we all work. So let's get started and talk about what is Copilot Chat. Copilot Chat is your entry point into all things Microsoft 365 Copilot. It is your company's approved AI chat tool. It is built with all security, data privacy, everything in mind, inside and outside your organizations. One of the standout functions of Copilot Chat, which is included for all Microsoft 365 subscribers, not just those paid Copilot licenses that you have to buy, which will cover the differences there as well. But one of the big standout features is the ability to upload files and really reason over the data you already have. So if you're on the fence about, is my organization fit for Copilot? Should we be budgeting for those licenses? Should we upgrade? Who should we upgrade? You should start by using Copilot Chat. It is already protected by Microsoft's enterprise data protection scenarios that are already covered throughout the whole Copilot suite. And anything you upload into Copilot is going to be respected inside that data boundary. So you don't really have to worry too much about there. So with Copilot Chat, upload files, get responses, ask general questions. If you've ever used something like ChatGPT or another AI chatbot out there, Copilot is that and more. And I would even argue it is significantly more efficient and effective at producing the appropriate responses when it comes to business type of data.
Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat brings everything together in one place, right in your flow of work. Whether you're looking for the latest industry updates, summarizing research, or learning about a new topic, Copilot Chat is by your side. Turn your Copilot chat responses into editable artifacts with Copilot Pages. Designed for multiplayer AI collaboration, Pages let you create and refine quickly. Share AI insights with collaborators easily. And circulate content on Teams and Outlook with just a click. Need help with specific tasks? Transform the way you work with agents in Copilot Chat. Bring in an agent that specializes in what you need, from writing prompts to automating processes. Explore agent templates from Microsoft, like the Career Coach or Writing Coach. Use agents built by your organization, or easily create your own. Supercharge your workday with Microsoft 365 Copilot, the UI for AI.
And that's a really interesting point to call out, Randy, that statement of the UI for AI. Why is it called that? Why is it referred to as that? Well, Copilot is sprinkled throughout pretty much everything inside Microsoft 365 today. You can find it in Word, you can find it in Outlook, you can find it in Teams, you can find it in SharePoint, so on and so forth. But when Microsoft says the UI for AI, that's where the actual whole Microsoft 365 Copilot app comes into play. Not only are you able to access Copilot in the various entry points I just mentioned, but you also have a designated sole place to work with your Copilot across all of these experiences, which is that M365 Copilot app. And we'll cover a little bit more about that soon. First thing I want to do, though, especially for our IT administrators, business decision makers, or security conscious folks out there, is talk about how does Copilot actually work. And what we're going to cover is basically the enterprise data loss protection that I've been harping on here, how Microsoft uses private Azure OpenAI services, not OpenAI's publicly available models, and really what the interaction is between when your prompt goes into the Copilot, where it actually goes, and how it stays within your organizational estate through a process called grounding and the Copilot orchestration engine that really makes all this stuff possible. So let's take a quick
David,
look.
can you really quick just kind of mention, did you mention ChatGPT, kind of the high level difference between that using your data in ChatGPT, kind of the free version that everybody has access to, as opposed to using it to more secure ChatGPT model, just kind of a big picture?
Yeah, so big picture, when it comes to different generative AI tools, and that involves ChatGPT, Perplexity, Grok, insert name here. The challenge that you're working on is all of those organizations have their own offering. You're already paying Microsoft probably a pretty penny for the services and tools that you use every single day. And Microsoft doesn't need to take your data, harvest your data, and use it to turn more profit. So the differences are when you use a publicly available chat tool like GPT or something else out there, what's really going on? And the question I always ask myself, especially when I'm deploying with my customers, is what's really happening in that chat tool? How are they making it free in order for you to use it? Because as we know, Randy, nothing's really free. So someone's getting paid along the line somewhere. And how they're getting paid when you use those free chat bots is they're getting paid by using your data. And they're using your data to sell it to marketers or advertisers or vendor partners that they want to work with. And they're also using it to make their own models better. So when you put your own business data into a publicly available chatbot, unlike Copilot, it's actually using the prompts you put in, all the stuff you might upload to it, and that has the potential to be used to train and be recycled for other purposes that company might have initiatives for. Whereas Microsoft is saying, no, this is your Copilot, it's private, it does not leave the organization, and we have several layers of security to ensure that happens.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. That's exactly what I wanted to get across to our audience.
Perfect. So how does Copilot work? Let's take a quick look at this here, and then we'll discuss it a little bit.
Microsoft 365 is built on top of Microsoft's current commitments to data security and privacy in the enterprise. Copilot is a sophisticated processing and orchestration engine that provides AI-powered productivity capabilities by coordinating the power of large language models, or LLMs, with your data in the Microsoft Graph, such as emails, chats, and documents that you have permission to access. The Microsoft 365 apps that you use every day, such as Word, PowerPoint, and Teams, and the web. This integration provides real-time intelligent assistance, enabling users to enhance their creativity, productivity, and skills. LLMs are a type of AI algorithm that uses deep learning techniques and vast datasets to understand, summarize, predict, and generate content. These LLMs include pre-trained models, such as generative pre-trained transformers, GPT, like GPT-4 Turbo, designed to excel in these tasks. LLMs process and generate natural language text by learning from large amounts of data from various sources such as books, articles, web pages, and images. An LLM takes an input, has several hidden layers that break down different aspects of language, and produces at the output layer. An LLM is a predictive engine that pulls patterns together based on pre-existing text to produce more text. It doesn't understand language or math. So, how does Copilot use LLMs? When you use Copilot for Microsoft 365, your query or prompt is processed through an approach called grounding, which improves the specificity of the prompt Copilot for Microsoft 365 accesses content and context through Microsoft Graph. It can generate responses anchored in your organizational data, such as user documents, emails, calendar, chats, meetings, and contacts. Copilot combines this content with the user's working context, such as the meeting a user is in now, the email exchanges the user had on a topic, or the chat conversations the user had last week. Copilot uses this combination of content and context to help provide accurate, relevant, and contextual responses. Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365 uses Azure OpenAI services for processing, not OpenAI's publicly available services. Microsoft 365 data is not collected or stored by Azure OpenAI. Azure OpenAI service does not cache customer content and Copilot modified prompts. In summary, Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365 is your AI assistant for work, coordinating LLMs, content in Microsoft Graph, Microsoft 365 apps, and the web. It generates responses based on this combined content and context, providing real-time intelligent assistance, enabling users to enhance their creativity, productivity, and skills while adhering to privacy and security standards. Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365 is compliant with our existing privacy, security, and compliance commitments to Microsoft 365 commercial customers, including the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, and European Union (EU) data boundary. When considering Copilot for Microsoft 365, it's important to understand what LLMs are and how Copilot for Microsoft 365 utilizes them while protecting your data. Learn more about Copilot for Microsoft 365, your AI assistant at work, at aka.ms/M365 Copilot Docs.
So one thing I just wanted to rewind to here is notice how when this sort of orchestration system is illustrated here in the video that was just played, how Copilot is really working here. To go back on the points that I mentioned about how other LLMs or generative AI tools and publicly available bots would actually take your prompt here and then send it directly to the LLM. That does not happen inside of Copilot. Everything that happens with Copilot is grounded inside here. So if we look at the flow of your actual data, which is your prompt, that could be a question, it could be a question tied to a bunch of file uploads, it could be images, really anything you're feeding into the AI tool, that goes through the Copilot grounding, and then it goes through your Microsoft Graph. Now remember, here we can see docs, email, calendar, chat, meetings, and contacts, but one of the big things to remember is the Microsoft Graph also understands your entire security posture throughout your tenancy. So that means any data loss prevention policies you have, any Defender security policies or phishing filtering policies, anything you might have with sensitivity labeling is all accounted for when this stuff then gets sent back to the orchestration engine and then finally to the private LLM. So there are actually several layers of protection involved with Copilot that you just don't get in any other generative AI tool. tool because of the Microsoft Graph. And that's really what people have been paying for years when using Office 365. Microsoft 365 is really their working context, which involves everything that their business does inside of Microsoft.
Got it. Great. This is great information as far as being able to make that differentiation between public, AI models and Copilot.
Absolutely, absolutely. So how do you get started with Copilot Chat? Copilot Chat is accessible, like I mentioned earlier, to everyone with a Microsoft 365 license. You could be a Microsoft 365 Business, you could be Microsoft 365 Enterprise, you could even be a first-line worker and have access to Microsoft 365 Copilot. Now, there are some key visual indicators that you'll notice in your Copilot experience. One of them is this green shield right here. The green shield signifies that you are signed in with your organization's work or school account, and you have that enterprise data protection applied. And by that enterprise data protection, that's what Randy and I have been talking about, where Copilot is going to ground everything, filter everything, and respect your organization's data boundaries. Nothing leaves your tenancy when using Copilot. The other piece here is you will have this on mobile as well. So you'll have this on phones, iOS, Android, iPadOS, Windows, Mac. It doesn't really matter where you want to get to it. As long as you see this green check, which the way we set devices up, you will automatically have that set up. But when you see that green check and enterprise data loss prevention is applied, feel safe in using it. Don't worry about what you're feeding into it because it's not going to go anywhere other than inside your own organization. And Copilot never changes permissions too. Keep that in mind. As you're working with your Copilot, it doesn't override permissions. It doesn't have the ability to go in and change different sensitivity settings. Whatever you have access to as an individual is what your Copilot can access as well. What does Copilot Chat look like when you start exploring it? And this is actually an updated visual. So Copilot has gone through some iterations. Microsoft is trying to find the best type of interface that works for a broad set of user bases. So starting up here in the top right, you're going to have the most commonly used button, which is Start a New Chat. Starting a new chat enables you to clear your Copilot's history in that context chat you've been having. Because remember, unlike traditional keyword searches, when you're chatting with an AI agent or an AI bot, it's really an ongoing conversation. If you don't get the output you want first, don't just stop, close, and start over. Tell the agent, oh, no, that wasn't quite right. Let's fix this. As you iterate on your conversation, it's kind of like having a text message thread or a chat in Teams or something like that, or even if you want to compare it to an actual Slack chat thread. All of these are going to be maintained, and as you continue the conversation with your Copilot, everything you've discussed so far will be contextually remembered and figured into its next response. Now, when you should use Start a New Chat is when you're ready to move to a new topic and you're basically done with what you were working on before. But that brings me to another point here. If you do happen to start a new chat, don't worry about it because everything is saved inside of your Copilot. And I'm going to actually shift to the left-hand side to Chat History. Chat History is expandable on the left-hand navigation, and that's going to have a running list of all the conversations that you've had with Copilot. So for an end user, this means that you can start a research project, start something with your Copilot, and then say, oh, I got pulled in another direction, or I have to focus on something else, so I'm going to go ahead and start a new chat. But then, when you have the time, come back to that conversation and continue where you left off with your Copilot, and everything is contextually remembered there by the Copilot agent. For admins on the call, also keep in mind that Copilot is fantastic with auditing and logging. So if you're concerned about, are my team members using AI responsibly? Is there anything harmful going on? How can I monitor and manage this? Remember that everything that happens in Copilot for work or school is discoverable and auditable by IT administrators and business decision makers through Microsoft Purview, formerly known as Microsoft Compliance. Purview is literally exactly what it sounds like. It is your purview into the organization, from across Microsoft 365 apps all the way down to Copilot itself. Now, one of the most popular features that you'll be using on this page, or the most commonly used one, is the prompt box. The prompt box is where you engage with Copilot. When you first open it up and have this blank canvas to work with, the prompt box will be centered right in the middle of the screen. You can type, you can upload and add content, again, illustrated over here on the left, so you can add unstructured Excel data, PDF reports, Word documents, text files, Python scripting, PowerShells that you need to ask questions about. So there really aren't any limitations on what you can give to Copilot and ask it to help you reason over something. When you do provide your working context, that gets added to your question that you're going to put in prompts. And then you also, for those of you that would rather prefer dictation, you can now talk to Copilot in natural language. So whether you are looking for accessibility needs or you're on the go on your phone, you don't have to type. You can talk to it and engage with Copilot through natural voice as well. In addition to that, once you start writing your prompts, just below the Copilot prompt box, you'll see your Copilot prompt gallery. So if one day you write a prompt, or maybe a team member writes a prompt that gives them exactly what they're looking for, you can actually save and then share those prompts using prompt gallery. And we'll come back and talk a little bit about prompt gallery later on as well. Below Copilot, remember, this is a dynamic AI assistant. It follows you as the user throughout the organization. And I mentioned earlier that everything you know and have access to, so too does your Copilot. That means it knows the latest Word files you just created, or the latest Teams chats you just may have gotten, or the latest email messages that just came into your inbox, and even what's coming up and has happened on your calendar inside of Outlook. So you'll see suggested prompts. And my suggested prompts probably won't look anything like Randy's suggested prompts. It'll look and say, oh, I've got a meeting coming up with this person. Let's prepare for that. And it will contextually look through and understand everything you've done with that person over the last history of the life that you've been working inside of Microsoft 365. And that's all used as working content and context. One of the newer functions, and probably a buzzword that you've heard, Randy, is agents. Agents are also located in the top left-hand corner. And just to clear up any confusion, or at least attempt to clear up confusion, what are agents? Agents are AI assistants built through Copilot, or of course, other AI tools have agents as well. But agents are essentially specialized AI bots that are targeted use case to a specific scenario. One example I like to give a lot is, let's say we work at KitchenAid, right? And we're working at the company KitchenAid, and we are trying to develop a support system or better support our engineers who are getting these support calls from customers and saying, hey, what mixers do I need? Is my model out of date? What do these replacement parts cost? Where can I get them? How long is it going to take to get them? That is perfect for an agent. So imagine you're working at KitchenAid and there are a variety of different mixers, attachments, specifications, all those different things. Well, let's build an agent, which is relatively simple to do and still secure. Let's build an agent that is grounded specifically in all 300, 400, maybe even 1,000 pages of documentation that KitchenAid has on supporting those mixers, those parts, those orderings, all those different things. So now, if you're on the support team and you get a customer call in asking questions, you don't have to sift through 300 to 1,000 pages of documentation to find the answer. Simply ask your Copilot agent, hey, this is the question from the customer, and it will immediately reason over all of your documentation and provide you the best answer based on the context of the question. I don't know, Randy, if you want to say any more on agents or if that really hits home what we're trying to communicate there.
Yeah, that's perfect from an educational perspective. Real world example in our company, we basically created a virtual marketing director agent. So somebody that's grounded in our marketing, in our message, in our voice, our brand, and we're able to interact with that agent to provide us content that, again, is grounded in our marketing, in our brand, in our voice. And it makes it much easier than just creating this generic content. It's very grounded in what we do, our services, our solutions, and it provides that level of detail when we're creating marketing information because, again, like you said, it's grounded in a very specific set of information that it focuses on.
Absolutely. So Copilot as a whole knows everything you know inside the organization, also has the ability to leverage your working content and context, emails, chats, teams, files, everything that you have in OneDrive, SharePoint. And then you have agents, which are specialized workers when you want to essentially just filter out the rest of the noise and have the AI focus on a specific task or a specific business use case scenario. Moving on. How do we chat? Now we're getting into prompting. And I always use the example of AI is not keyword search, and I've seen so many folks try and use AI and use it like they were doing a Google search or a Bing search. It's not that. It has the same capabilities as that, but you should talk to AI as if you were talking to another person. You would enter your prompt into the actual box and say, hey, let's form our question. Then, when you get your output back, Copilot is always going to check sources. So all the sources where it drew its conclusions, whether those conclusions were internal or external from the web, or maybe even a third-party system like Salesforce or SAP that you've decided to connect into Copilot, will all be referenced right here. And that's one of the reasons also that I really love working with Copilot Studio and Agent Builder and all those different areas, is because it's really good in ensuring all of your citations are met appropriately and you always know where it's pulling its conclusions. And as I mentioned before, continue the conversation. Don't just stop after one or two outputs. Keep asking questions, ask follow-up questions. Treat it like you're in a meeting with a team member and you want to know more about the topic. It remembers everything you've discussed just as if a human would remember those things. And that's how you should really be using these prompts. So what is a prompt? Prompts are how you have conversations with Copilot. They can be plain text, they can include attachments, they can be instructions, they can really be whatever you want. It's what you desire to have happen when using Copilot. And what does a good prompt look like? A good prompt includes 4 key ingredients, and this is where I try and break that keyword search habit. When writing a prompt, you want to include context. Context is, why do you need it and who is involved? So imagine you're asking somebody, like an actual human worker, to generate a marketing report for you, right? You're not just going to say, hey, go give me a marketing report. Well, that's going to be pretty vague. You want to include context. Why do you need the report? Who's involved? What is the goal? What responses do you want? So, hey, Copilot, I need a marketing report for last quarter. It involves Randy, myself, and these folks from this vendor that we've been working with. I want you to include tables, charts, visuals, and projections for the next 3 months and how we can better optimize this campaign. That's your goal, right? Then your source, which information or sample should Copilot use? Tell it, hey, reference these files that we had in the past, reference that Teams meeting that we just had last week, or use this specific website that we really like to use for templates. Provide it source and information. And then expectations. How should Copilot respond to best meet those expectations? Do you want it to use its own best judgment and just generate you a report? Do you like to use visualizations? Do you want it to give you tables and charts or bulleted lists? Tell it how you want it to respond, and I guarantee you it absolutely will.
The other piece, David, that I want to throw into this, I'm sorry, regarding an effective prompt, something that I do that has basically allowed for me to really used AI as a force multiplier is assigning it a role. If you don't have the agent created, for example, where you've grounded it and told it what it is, but if you're starting with just a plain prompt, if you give it the role that it's supposed to be, hey, you're a marketing director for an IT consulting company, for example, or you're a sales manager for a car dealership, you give it the role, that the expectation, so it understands what that specific role is. And then you throw on top of everything that David has mentioned here, you're going to get some really powerful, refined results coming back, than opposed to just saying, hey, like David said, give me a marketing report. You're going to be disappointed.
Right, exactly. So let's take a look at an example prompt with all the key ingredients that are highlighted here in different colors. So as before, we have our context, which is I work in marketing and focus on competitor research. Then the goal, give me a concise summary of recent news about insert company name here, or even multiple companies if you want. Your source, focus on web articles from the last 2 months, very specific. And your expectation, provide the answer in 2 to 3 paragraphs and use a business tone. So this is an excellent prompt, and it's going to give you a much better output than I need competitor research. Well, Copilot's going to be, who are your competitors? Where am I looking for this? It doesn't know those things necessarily, right? And this is exactly how you would, if Randy, let's say, were assigning me this task and he didn't have Copilot, I would hope he would give me these kind of instructions instead of saying, hey, Dave, go create a marketing competitor report. And I'd be like, for who, for what, for why, for how, right? Be as specific with your AI tools as you would a human team member. We talked about uploading files too. So in addition to writing an excellent prompt, maybe you have a marketing report created from last quarter or last year, and you really like the template, you really like the structure. Don't be afraid to then click that little plus in your prompt box and attach that content as well. Because in addition to all the instructions you provide in your prompt and that grounding, it's also going to look at anything you attach to it. And keeping in mind that even if it's sensitive content in that document, by using Copilot with your work or school account, once again, all of that is protected. You have enterprise data protection. You have governance built right in. So all that data you provide to it is never going to leave your tenant, nor would Copilot ever be able to make it leave your tenant. Everything stays in your own business context. All right. Let's take a look at Copilot chat itself. What does it look like? What does it feel like? How do you use it? And what do I mean by continuing that conversation?
Copilot Chat gives you free and secure enterprise-ready AI chat powered by GPT-4o in a familiar and consistent interface. Say you work in business planning for an EV charging company and you're developing the strategy for the year. You start by asking Copilot to do some research on the web. You want some basic information, like how EV charging has grown by region. Copilot is grounded in the web, so it can reason over the entire internet and quickly pull the relevant information. Great! Now let's see how these national trends compare to your sales results. With Copilot Chat, you can easily and securely upload files, like your sales data, and have it visualize your regional sales for the past few quarters. And you can continue to iterate with Copilot, like asking it to recommend strategies to help increase sales in lower-performing regions. With Copilot Chat, you can quickly gather insights from the web and securely upload and analyze your data, bringing the power of AI directly to your workflow.
So from that example, you really saw how you don't just stop after that first response. Continue to ask questions, continue to follow up, and it really demonstrated all the things that we've been talking about so far. Use your prompt, provide instructions and expectations and a goal, and even give it examples from past scenarios. Is there anything else on that, Randy, that you want to add before we move on to some additional prompting?
No, we're right on track, David. I like this information and want to keep moving forward.
All right. So discover and share Copilot prompts. I mentioned earlier about the prompt gallery. The prompt gallery is built in everywhere you can access Copilot. One of the main entry points is through the Copilot app itself at m365.copilot.microsoft. That's your homepage. And every time you create a prompt or send a prompt to Copilot, you have the opportunity to save it and store it inside your prompt gallery. We're going to take a look at a video that shows what that looks like here in just a bit. But this is available in every entry point for Copilot. You're going to see some example prompts that are automatically built by Microsoft based on who you are, what you do, who you work with, and where your data is stored. And then you also have the Your Prompt section. The Your Prompt section can be filled as you start to use Copilot, and if you develop one that you really like, share it with a team member and let them use it in their own instance of Copilot too. One thing that's really important to note is if you share a prompt with another team member, remember it's only sharing the prompt itself. It's not sharing any data or documentation or files that you have surfaced using that prompt in Copilot. Because if I send my prompt to Randy, remember his Copilot only knows what he knows and what he has access to. So by sharing prompts, you're still not breaking any data loss prevention areas. It's only going to show Randy what he has access to versus me, what I have access to. So our responses may be a bit different, but that's where we can iterate together and then put our best foot forward as a team and say, hey, here's our final output. And we'll talk about co-authoring in a bit with Copilot pages. I've been mentioning access points quite a bit. There are access points to Copilot across all the applications you know and love. You can do it at m365copilot.com, which is the main Copilot application. You can do it from inside Microsoft Teams in the Copilot app. You can even use it inside of Outlook. You can even use it inside of the Microsoft 365 Copilot app, most likely pinned to your start menu and your taskbar that comes built right in. And If you're not using Microsoft Edge, you absolutely should be. It is the browser for business. Your Copilot is also built in there. Imagine how many times you've been browsing web pages or trying to dissect information and pull from different sources. Did you know that by using Edge, you could just click on the little Copilot icon in the top right-hand corner, and that same Copilot that you've been using across every other entry point is now there for you to not only reason over your business data, but can also contextually understand exactly what you're looking at on the web. It's a perfect research tool, and I use it all the time. Works on both desktop and mobile, of course, as well. And then on mobile, you have your Copilot mobile app. Works on iPhones, iPads, Android tablet, Samsung, all of those different areas. And if you're a first-line worker and you want to use voice dictation mode, that's the perfect time to fire up those agents, open up Copilot, and start asking questions. And the real point here is, and this is why I really love the tool as well, Microsoft's commitment to having the technology meet you where you're at as a user, not the other way around. We don't want you to have to adapt to using this new tool. We want the tool to be flexible and adapt to the way you work. So whether you're doing it in any of these entry points, Copilot is going to be there to support you.
Yeah, I travel a lot, David, and that mobile app for Copilot is indispensable for me.
Fantastic. I love it. Absolutely. So if you don't already have it in Teams, keep in mind, as I mentioned earlier, everyone that has Microsoft 365 has Copilot. If you don't see it in Teams and you want to actually add it to your Teams left-hand navigation, you could just search for it by selecting the three little dots, select Copilot, and then pin it right to your sidebar in Teams, and it will always be there and available for you. Users with the paid Microsoft 365 Copilot subscription, which really expands its working knowledge and context with your business data, would have this done automatically for them when the license gets assigned. So there's really no action you need to take there. And for those of you that haven't tried it yet, and I wanted to bring this up because there's some confusion. Microsoft is historically awesome at naming things, right, Randy? Historically great. Everything makes sense. Keep in mind, there is Microsoft Copilot and there is Microsoft 365 Copilot. We've been discussing Microsoft 365 Copilot today. Remember, Microsoft's not just in the business game. They also make Xbox and Hotmail and MSN and Live and Outlook.com, all those different things. So this QR code here, if you haven't scanned it yet, scan this code. This will take you to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store, depending on where you scan from, and it will give you the work version of the Copilot app, which is known as M365 Copilot, and that's the one you want to use. So I've seen a lot of people be like, well, I opened the app and it looks nothing like what you showed me. You're probably using the personal version of Copilot. This will get you right to the work version of Copilot. If you can't scan for any reason, just search for M365 Copilot or Microsoft 365 Copilot in your device's app store, and then you can sign in with your work or school account. And Randy, one thing I want to call out too, especially if you're working with IT pros, we'll make sure this is set up for you already on your work or school devices, right through what's called Microsoft Intune. So you really just have to sign in once. Everything you need is automatically deployed and all the appropriate settings come with it.
Thanks for that, David. Yeah, that's an important factor that we want to make sure people understand.
Mm-hmm. We talked a lot about agents, or a little about agents. Now let's talk some more about agents. Agents are those task-based knowledge workers driven by AI. We're going to take a look and see what's possible with agents, and then we'll come back and discuss the agent store as well, which is now a unified entry point to discover agents not only from Microsoft or built by your own colleagues, but built by vendors like Salesforce, SAP, any other system out there that you can be connected to Copilot. If you've ever worked with something like If This Then That, Power Automate, the Power Platform, or just connecting things in workflows, anything that you can connect to with an API can also be connected to an agent to further enhance its knowledge.
There's a lot about your work that you love, and you'd like to do more of it. But tedious processes are slowing you down. Agents can give you back the time to do what matters most. From helping you manage projects to performing compliance checks, these AI-powered tools in Microsoft 365 Copilot handle complex processes and tasks for you. And you can create them yourself with the Agent Builder in Copilot Chat. Start with a template or build an agent from scratch using natural language. Describe what you want to create, such as an agent to review a contract for compliance, or an agent to gather research insights from your company database. Connect it to data sources, and with a little refining, your agent is ready. Share it so your colleagues can use the agent too. You can even discover agents built by others. No matter how you create them, your agents are backed by the security you know and trust from Microsoft. Save time by automating your processes and get back to what you do best with agents in Copilot Chat.
So really being able to extend the technical boundary of what your Copilot can do. It's not restricted to just data that lives inside Microsoft 365. You can bring in data from all different areas. And one of the really great things about this is when you do bring that data in, remember that enterprise data protection still applies. So if you're connecting it to an external system, Copilot's not sending data back and forth. It's not sending it outside your organizational boundary. It's still protected by that same data loss prevention that Randy and I have been discussing here. I mentioned the agent storefront. The agent storefront is a relatively new user interface that's built into, again, all entry points of Copilot. If you want to start discovering agents that have been built by others in your company, agents that are offered by Microsoft, things like Visual Creator, the Sales Agent, Writing Coach Agent, or even there's actually a Prompt Coach Agent too, which actually trains you and helps you write better prompts, which is fantastic. But now you'll see hundreds and hundreds of different connectors from popular services like Jira, Monday, ServiceNow, Mural, Salesforce, all those different things. So you can immediately start leveraging your Copilot with business data that might not live inside Microsoft 365 and start having it reason over those things as well. Any examples or any thoughts on that, Randy, you want to throw in about connecting to external data?
Yeah, just from a standpoint of, being front lines in the deployment of Copilot and other applications, we are starting to see a lot of our customers inquire regarding using Copilot with those third-party solutions, Salesforce you mentioned, HubSpot, these type of things, so that Copilot is now, branching out outside of, like you said, the Microsoft ecosystem and actually be used a tool with all these other third-party applications that your business may be using today.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you'll see tools that are being developed or have been around for a long time, you'll see they all have a heavy focus on AI now. The beauty is you don't need to go outside of Copilot to do those things because those tools are actually coming natively into Copilot. And Microsoft has put a huge focus on security requirements, access requirements, and following that organizational data boundary that you have set. So if you're connecting an app to your Copilot, rest assured that same level of enterprise data protection applies, which is just fantastic. And for all the IT admins watching this, keep in mind it is a lifesaver that you don't have to manage separate identity and API connection systems. What about creating custom agents? Let's talk about the agent builder. Now, there are a couple of different ways to create agents, and this is, again, going a bit above and beyond just using that Copilot chat experience, but this is available to all users too. Agents can be created by individual users for their own individual activities. I mentioned the KitchenAid bot before. Randy mentioned the marketing agent that has your business tone, your voice, and all of your documentation handy. When you create an agent from Agent Builder within your Copilot app, that's really intended to be for you and whenever you need to go ahead and use it. If you're working on a project or a sales development plan or a complex migration that you might be doing, Agent Builder is perfect for that. Give it all of your documentation, give it your entire project plan, and then come back and ask questions about it. It's perfect for those scenarios. There's also the Copilot Studio Agent Builder. And Copilot Studio Agent Builder is also available to Microsoft 365 Copilot users, and this allows you to build agents that can be used throughout your organization, and even publicly available websites if you want to create a chatbot agent with support inquiry, with telephone level handoff and voice capabilities to have on your website. You'll see these a lot when you go on people's websites and the little AI bot pops out in usually the lower right-hand corner, and it's like, hey, how can I help you? That's an agent that has all the working context and knowledge that would be available to someone inside the organization. And these agents can orchestrate together. One agent can leverage another, depending on the question and the prompt entered by the user, right? So it's a really great way to start building targeted use case scenarios that may go above and beyond your traditional Copilot chat. And that's something that IT pros can absolutely help you with as well, is really understanding what agents you need, where we can improve business workflow and optimization, and then start deploying these agents for different use cases there. Let's take a look and see what it looks like to actually create a simple agent for your own use cases inside your instance of Microsoft 365 Copilot.
Let's see how simple it is for anyone to create an agent in Copilot Chat. You fire up Agent Builder and describe what you want the agent to do. It needs to be able to reason over your product catalog and repair tickets to provide step-by-step troubleshooting instructions. Let's connect it to SharePoint so it has access to all the knowledge it needs. It's built in seconds, so you can start using it immediately, or edit and configure it to fit your needs. You can expand its knowledge base by tapping into resources like SharePoint sites or other IT-approved data sources. You can test the agent right here, or just hit Create and you're done. And of course, the agent respects your organization's Microsoft 365 and SharePoint security permissions. Now your agent is ready in Copilot Chat, and you can start using it.
It's really that simple to get going, and that was a really great call-out point. When you create an agent, maybe you have access to the finance site or the leadership site or wherever those documents are stored in Microsoft 365, but somebody you're sharing the agent with only has access to one or two different sites. Keep in mind that as you share agents with people, it's not going to change the permissions that you've set throughout your organization. It's only going to surface for them what they have inherent access to. We talked a bit about co-authoring and collaboration, and Copilot Pages is the perfect way to iterate. I mentioned earlier how I can start a project, I can come back to it. Randy can then use my prompts, he could start a project and come back to it. But did you know that you can also use a tool called Microsoft Loop, which is built into Microsoft 365, to actually iterate and collaborate together on your Copilot project? Let's take a look and see what Copilot Pages looks like and how they might be able to benefit you.
Introducing Copilot Pages. Pages is a dynamic, persistent canvas designed for multiplayer AI collaboration. Let's say you work for an EV charging company and there's a new business opportunity. You start in BizChat, where you ask Copilot to do some research on the web. You want some basic information, like the number of daily passengers and information on the number of parking spaces with EV chargers. Copilot pulls the information and you turn the response into a page, so you can keep working. You want to share what you've got so far and ask your colleagues to help. So you tag them. Now everyone can immediately start to contribute, and you can see their edits in real time. Next, you need to get started on a plan for your proposal. So let's switch over to the Work tab. Here you can ask Copilot to reference a previous plan to give you a head start. Copilot pulls in the deliverables, work back schedule, and owners, which you add to your page. Immediately, your colleagues can begin updating the work back schedule and assigning owners. The next step is the proposal outline. You want to review the customer needs, so a coworker uses Copilot to pull in a bulleted list of requirements from a recorded meeting with the customer last week. In seconds, Copilot is able to synthesize the discussion and give your team the key takeaways. Now you're ready to start building the proposal. Last year, you landed a similar deal, so you want to reuse that great work. You ask Copilot to use that proposal as a starting point and update it to include the new customer requirements. With one last click, Copilot pulls it all together for you. Pages is an entirely new pattern of work, designed for human to AI to human collaboration.
Awesome stuff. And I use Pages all the time, whether I'm developing a research plan, a new policy and procedure, a work back schedule. Really, it can be used for anything, but it allows you to iterate, co-author, and collaborate with people both inside and outside the organization. As we get to the end of our presentation here, I want to go over some tips for power users. And there's a really powerful example in here, and I like to call it daisy chaining my Copilot. I mentioned earlier that Copilot's available across pretty much every Microsoft app that you've used either for years or have just started using if you've just come to the Microsoft world. When we start to think about really making impact with Copilot in our workflows, it doesn't just involve using Copilot in the one entry point of BizChat or that Copilot chat UI we've been talking about here. The power of this really comes in when you start leveraging it in different entry points for the same topic or project. Let's take a look and see what that actually looks like in practice.
If you have Microsoft 365 Copilot in your organization today, I'm going to walk you through the top 5 power user tips and the lesser-known ways in which you can really put Copilot to work for you, saving you time. We'll go beyond the rich Microsoft 365 Copilot chat experience that's available to every Microsoft 365 user, where you might be uploading information to inform generated responses. And I'll focus on what you can do with a Microsoft 365 Copilot license, which lights up experiences within your familiar Office apps, automatically connecting your work data in Microsoft 365 to help you in context as you work. I'm going to start in Outlook because who doesn't need help with their inbox? You might already be using Microsoft 365 Copilot in Outlook to help write and quickly respond to emails, or to get help rewriting your existing drafts with auto rewrite, or by using your own detailed instructions to get it just right. And if you haven't already tried Copilot in Outlook, prompt suggestions for the things you can do in Outlook are built in for you to get started. These are all time savers that are core to the experience. But have you ever tried using Microsoft 365 Copilot to help you get up to speed on a long email thread? Well, here I've been added to an email thread, and I don't necessarily have all the context. As I scroll this super long email with multiple people, there's too much to take in, and it would take a lot of effort for me to parse it. And this is where Copilot in Outlook can help. By clicking on Summary by Copilot, the entire email thread is processed, and I'm left with a quick summary of the main points from the thread, including key actions specific to me. It's boiled down about 10 pages of emails into these 4 bullets. It looks like my team needs my help researching a potential fit for new outdoor and adventure goods with our current electronics products, and I have less than a week to pull everything together. This normally would be a time-consuming effort, but this brings me to my second power user tip. I can now use AI with chain of thought reasoning to gather information and work with me to create a new product strategy doc. From the Microsoft 365 Copilot app, I'll use a new agent called Researcher. I'll ask Researcher to develop a product strategy to enter a new market for outdoor and adventure goods. After I enter my prompt, Researcher goes to work. You can see that as part of its first response, it's paused, and this time it's asking me clarifying questions about both the scope and format of what I want it to write. So I'll respond with key details to answer both of its questions, then it uses my response to move forward. It takes my prompts, understands the task, and starts to build a plan that it'll use to author a detailed report, and I can follow along. It's reasoning over information that I have permission to access from internal locations. As it works, I can take a look at its reasoning process in real time. It tells me what it's doing. It's identifying our existing business lines, clarifying our product categories, analyzing the potential fit for outdoor products, looking for relevant meetings that I've been invited to analyze the transcripts, and even researches industry trends from the web. What I love about this agent is that it's actually doing the research to create what I need. So let's jump ahead to that final result. On the right, you can see that it's delivered a thorough response with a fully documented product strategy, in line with what I'd expect from an expert. Starting with an analysis of my existing business, it's also analyzed the outdoor and adventure gear sector. Then it's built insights based on our existing business and how it intersects with outdoor products. It's added strategic positioning and a detailed go-to-market plan. So I've saved a ton of time, and now I have a solid, well-researched draft that I can build on with my team. Next, because my team uses Word to build out these types of plans, I brought everything over to a new doc. And in Word, there are 2 power user tips for building on existing content using Copilot that I'll show you. First, you can pull up Copilot on any blank line using the Copilot icon or the Alt+I keyboard shortcut. Beyond what's here, I know that my team just brainstormed ideas about in-store experiences during a Teams meeting, and I want to use those details directly from the meeting recap to add that to our plan. With Copilot, I can do that by using the Reference Your Content button. In the Meetings tab, I'll locate the meeting I want, this one for location planning, which uses the same Copilot-generated content from meeting recaps in Teams. I'll pause a second before I complete this prompt in Word to show you the meeting recap first and give you some context on that meeting. For any transcribed meeting, I can find the recap by going back to the original meeting invite from my calendar, then clicking on the Recap tab. These are AI-generated and capture what was discussed in meetings that you were in, meetings you were late to, or meetings that you were invited to but couldn't attend. For example, I missed this meeting. And without anyone taking notes, from AI Notes, I can see they discussed placing outdoor products in our retail stores and creating a connected outdoors display in our store. There are 5 cities listed here in Washington and Oregon to launch them. If I go to the Mentions tab, you can see that I was even mentioned 33 minutes into the meeting. So with that context, I'm going to go back to Word and finish writing my prompt. I'll ask Copilot to add a paragraph for creating in-store displays discussed in the meeting, with a few additional instructions. And it's taken the details from the meeting and adding it to our plan. And you can see those 5 store locations that we saw before in the meeting recap. And in seconds, we've transformed the actions from a spoken Teams meeting to add to our written plan. It didn't just insert the paragraph to the rest of the doc. It's actually matched the tone and altitude of the rest of our plan, so it doesn't feel out of place. And now everyone's working together on this document. I can see Adele and Daichi are here. In fact, as I scroll down, there's also a comment from Daichi to add details about our outdoor products that we're already working on to release later this year. For this power user tip, I'll open Copilot and use a / and start typing, then choose the email from Daichi and complete my prompt to add those details. Now we have details about the outdoors electronics we'll be launching soon to complete our plan. And by the way, if I need more inspiration from Copilot in Word, I can use Copilot from the ribbon and then use the Add menu in Copilot in Word to ask an agent, add an image, and view prompts from the prompt gallery with lots of great options here. This is also available across other Microsoft 365 apps with prompt tips specific to each app. That said, let me show you our next power tip, which is something that's super powerful. If you're ever late to a meeting and join the meeting after it started, you can use Copilot to catch up on what you missed, even shared visual content that was presented during the meeting. Here, I'm joining a brainstorming meeting, and you can see that I've missed the first 7.5 minutes, but that's okay. I can ask Copilot to bring me up to speed by asking what I missed. And Copilot tells me exactly what was covered before I joined. Next, I can also ask if there were any visuals shared. And not only does it provide a summary of the content that I missed on screen, including embedded text, but it also shares still images of the shared content themselves. This one is an important prototype of the in-store campsite display, highlighting our product lineup. I can even zoom in for a closer look at the image. And because I'm caught up with everything I missed, I don't need to ask my team to back up and repeat what they've already presented. As you saw with the power user tips I shared today, whenever you use Microsoft 365 Copilot inside your apps, your work data is automatically delivered into the experience. There's no need to upload or paste work content into your prompts. This also means that your work information retains its protections. For more things to try, check out the free Copilot Academy at aka.ms/Copilot Academy. And keep watching Mechanics for the latest updates from Microsoft. And thanks for watching.
That was great, David. I learned one thing in there.
That's awesome. What was that?
The one power tip on basic power tip 3 and 4, basically bringing into Word all that information from those meetings.
Yep.
You typically do meeting recaps, but actually bringing it into an actual working live document. Pretty cool.
That's the real magic of all of this is when you have your Copilot and it understands all those things and getting out of those old keyword copy paste habits. Remember, it knows what you know, and to be honest, I'll even say it probably knows more than I know because I'm not on top of all this stuff, right? But I'm involved in it at some level. So I don't have to worry about copy pasting, reformatting. I could just reference something that I've been involved in at some level, whether directly or indirectly, and Copilot's going to bring all that in as working context.
Exactly.
One thing I want to do before we close out here is actually move over to a quick demonstration, because this is a question we get asked all the time. What is the difference between Copilot Chat, which is the free/included version with all Microsoft 365 licenses, versus someone that has that full Microsoft 365 Copilot license that you can add on to your current Microsoft 365 subscription? We've mixed some things in that you can do. So that chat, that file upload, that enterprise data protection, all available in the free experience. But the things that you just saw in those power user tips, that's when you really start to experience the magic. So let's take a look and see what some of these key differences are at a high level explanation, and then we'll close out.
Sounds good.
Microsoft 365 Copilot is your AI companion that helps inform and inspire you with helpful advice, feedback, and answers. There are a few versions of Copilot for you to consider. Let's take a look at Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat and Microsoft 365 Copilot. Copilot Chat is available to businesses that have a Microsoft 365 subscription at no additional cost. With it, you can access features like text generation, image generation, and basic data analysis. Because it's grounded in the web, it can reason over the entire internet and quickly pull in relevant information. For example, you can get help with tasks like drafting emails or getting summaries of documents that you upload. Next is Microsoft 365 Copilot, the paid version of Copilot, which gives you all of the functionality of Copilot Chat, plus the ability to access business emails, create Teams meeting summaries, summarize information in Word or Excel, create draft PowerPoint presentations, find information in OneDrive and SharePoint, and more. Finally, Copilot agents are available in both Microsoft 365 Copilot and Copilot Chat. These AI-driven agents can be created and used to connect to your organization's data to automate and execute business processes. With them, you can troubleshoot with customers in real time, or let it handle repetitive tasks like answering commonly asked HR questions. There are agents that are free and agents that are billed based on usage. Now that you know the differences, go ahead and start using Copilot to boost your productivity and streamline your tasks.
Lots of information in a very short period of time. I hope that after this, you have a bit of an understanding of what Copilot is, what it is not, how it protects your organization's data, and really how it can empower you to do your best work. At NetLogic, at IT Pros, we don't build AI solutions that augment or replace human beings. We build AI solutions that help current team members accelerate and just do better at what they're already doing. And that's really the point of AI, is not to replace individuals, but to make those individuals even better and more productive so that they can have an actual work-life balance versus working on these reports and stuff after hours for weeks at a time. Randy, in closing, is there anything you want to add in?
No, David, I'd love the presentation. You definitely hit it out of the ballpark like always. I want to thank David and NetLogic for their partnership to helping us as Microsoft partners work together and to bring these solutions to our customers. If anybody on the webinar wants to kind of further have a discussion regarding Copilot or just general AI, to get your feet wet, to start understanding, and just kind of have a one-on-one conversation on how some of these solutions can help enhance your business. Like David said, not replace anybody, but really enhance their ability, become a force multiplier in your organization. You can scan the QR code on the screen, schedule a one-on-one call with me. If need be, I can bring David into the conversation as well. But we definitely want to make sure we start these conversations with businesses so that you are not left behind in the AI revolution. And this is a game-changing, disruptive force in industry and in history, just like the internet was, just like the printing press was, just like the wheel was. AI is now that disruptive force into our today's world. So we want to make sure we give you guys the education, the information, so that you can start making these decisions and not left behind. Because if you're left behind, if you're not even using AI right now, unfortunately, you already are kind of behind. We're trying to get you caught up so that at least you start using it and start seeing how it could impact your business. But David, again, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. And, we'll be in contact. We'll have additional seminars like these and webinars like these to provide more information regarding Copilot and other solutions that we bring to the table as an organization that's really focused on helping businesses and nonprofits increase their productivity. Any final words of wisdom, David?
No, I think you hit the you hit it right out of the park there. Again, Copilot, your UI for AI, it is the best tool for business. It follows your data loss prevention boundaries, and it can really empower you to do your best work every single day, even when you're not in front of your computer. So looking forward to catching up more as I meet with each of you individually. Randy, thanks so much for having me on. And with that, I'll say take care.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.